There.
All right. The floodgates are opened.
Okay. Oh, yeah, and up and running.
It's happening.
Look at all the people.
They're just flooding in.
Wow.
Single file, everyone. Don't trip. Don't trip.
Raise your hand.
There's plenty of seats up front. Don't all crowd around the back of the room.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't be shy.
Stand in room only, guys.
Oh, Chris cut in line. Come on, Chris.
Oh,
Don't
orderly
run.
fashion. Come on.
Yeah.
We don't want the fire marshal called on us.
Yeah, no running around the pool, indeed.
All right, let me see if we've got everything situated here. Get my Q&A stuff set up. All right, well, it's already the top of the hour, so we should probably go ahead and get things kicked off here. I do have a couple of slides that we can at least just put up on the screen. Let me do that, and then we'll get this thing kicked off. All right, you guys see my screen okay?
Yeah, all good.
Excellent.
Yep.
All right, well, let's go through the housekeeping items here. So it is the top of the hour, so we'll go ahead and get things started here. This week we're trying things different with this webinar. We're going to do this kind of open Q&A with Ekahau, and we'll see where things go. I brought on some other experts to help me. Depending on where you guys take the questions on here to help me try and answer these questions. So let's actually kick off. Before I go into the introductions here, talk about if this is your first webinar that you've joined, we're leveraging the Q&A panel. So go ahead and locate that, and you can feel free to start submitting those questions in there. You'll be able to see the questions that have been submitted. So if you've got the same question, you can give it a thumbs up, and it'll bubble that up to the top of the list, so we can try to make sure the more popular questions that we can get through all those and get those answered. And yeah, the session is being recorded, and we do have the chat enabled as well. So go ahead and feel free to leverage the chat as well, but try to keep the questions in the Q&A panel, just because they'll scroll by in the chat, and they'll get lost in the shuffle potentially. I think that pretty well covers everything. So let's go ahead and do some introductions here. So on the line, we've got from Ekahau, myself. I'm one of the product managers here at Ekahau. And then I also brought on Abhishek. And Abhishek, this is actually, I think, the first Ekahau webinar that you've been on, right? Or at least,
yes,
you've been in the audience side of things before, but first
right.
Participation side.
Yep.
Why don't you introduce yourself, talk about a little bit of what your role is here at Ekahau, and maybe what you were doing prior to the role you're in currently.
Sure. So my name's Abhishek Kotnis. You might have heard me or spoken to me in the last 4 years. I was doing tech support. I've recently started working as a sales engineer since April of this year, so 4 months now. Pretty exciting ride. Learned a lot over the last few years. Spoke to a lot of customers, a lot of different scenarios. Learned a lot along the way. I like the introduction that you added over there, CWNE question mark. So yeah, I am working towards it. I just passed the security exam last month, so I have one more analysis to go. And yeah, hopefully should be there pretty soon.
Right on. You got your AP test scheduled yet?
Not yet. So I actually took the exam a few months ago, and I just didn't make it. So probably failed by like a couple of questions. So I just want to go back, and I bought the kitchen sink videos from the CWNP website. They're a really good resource. So I'm gonna go through those videos now. Try to read the CWNA book again. Try to make sure I'm not missing out on something.
Right on.
Then retake the exam probably in the next couple of months, hopefully sooner.
Excellent. Well, let's go through the list of our guest panelists. Appreciate you guys coming on. Raymond, you want to introduce yourself?
Actually, no, but yeah, I probably have to. Hi, my name's Raymond. I'm a CWNE 274, I think. Should be, yeah. It's probably
It's
behind.
it's on the slide, so it better be right.
I've got the chat window open over myself. So, I've been a trainer with Ekahau now for over a year. It's been a fun ride. I really like training. I'm probably the only Dutch trainer, Dutch-speaking trainer, but I could do German, could do English, could do a little bit of French, so multilingual training should be possible. That's probably enough.
So how long have you used Ekahau products?
Probably started. I looked back in mail, and I requested a test version in 2006. Then I started as a Wi-Fi engineer. As being self-employed, it was kind of overexpensive at that time, so I went for another option and went back to Ekahau like 4 or 5 years ago. Somewhere around that.
Awesome. Yeah, and how long have you been an ECSE instructor?
I did my first training in Atlanta in September last year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Sam, how about you?
Hi, I'm Sam Clements. As it says on the screen, I'm the mobility practice manager for Presidio. I'm out of the Tennessee office, so here in Central Tennessee, and I'm battling a bit of chest congestion and a little bit of a sore throat going on today. So we'll see how much my voice holds up. I'm trying to soothe it with scalding hot coffee, and so we'll see if that helps or not. But as it says on the screen, CWNE 101. Yeah, I know, right? I'm awesome. No, CWNE 101, CCI Wireless, also an Ekahau trainer, was also in the office last week and participated in the ECSC design course, ECSC troubleshooting course, holy cow, with some of the guys. So generally passionate about all things Wi-Fi and looking forward to the webinar.
Yeah, and I was in that, I got an opportunity to sit in that class as well, the new ECSE troubleshooting class, which is now officially announced on our website. So yeah, and Phil, you were in that one as well. So if there are any questions around that class, these are definitely the right people to ask that, or any other, ECSE related kind of inquiries. We've had quite a few changes to the whole ECSE program here this year, with some new classes now being kind of broken out to specialize in different areas of Wi-Fi. All right, Phil, how about you? Who are you?
Hi, I'm Phil Morgan. I've been doing wireless for a long time. When I teach my classes, I tell people I remember B being the new exciting thing coming out. So I've been doing this for a long time. It was a different world, of course, all those years ago. We didn't have half the planet trying to hack into our networks, and the wireless was an extra thing we sort of stuck on the end. Now, of course, wireless has become mainstream. And I'm currently in Las Vegas, about to attend DEF CON. So I'm about to find as much as I possibly can about all these problems we're going to have with WPA3, which is plaguing the industry at the moment. And I've got some really interesting talks coming up over the next few days that I'm looking forward to attending. That's about me, I suppose.
Yeah, that's that definitely, I think, would be a good topic for this audience to talk about this kind of breaking news around WPA3. And Yeah, I'm kind of interested to learn more about it as well. I know, I think that just dropped, what, last week, right?
I think it's been out for a while. They've been hinting at it for a while, but what's really become interesting at the moment is the workarounds that the Wi-Fi Alliance put out to stop the problems. They've now found even more problems around them as well. So for Wi-Fi Alliance, their goal is to make our lives better, but it just seems that WPA3 is not the great savior it promised to be. It's fixable. That's the good news.
Yeah.
It may take some more time. It's fixable. And the key thing, if you pardon the pun, is we need to find out exactly where the damage is, exactly what's going on. The key takeaway from all this is a radio server with certificates is still the best way to secure your network. Gee whiz, go figure, right?
And I'm noticing in chat you've got some apparently former students from some of your ECSE classes.
I glanced over, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you've been an ECSE instructor for a good while now, right? How long have you been doing ECSE?
Similar to Raymond, coming up to a year now.
Okay.
I started my journey about this time last year. Sat on the classes, and I think my first teach was late last year, if I remember correctly.
But yeah, you've been doing Wi-Fi training for much longer, right? How long have you been teaching Wi-Fi related classes?
Oh, since I don't even think I can remember the model number of the Aeronet APs, but I've been doing it since APs were standalone autonomous APs, and you had 10 of them, you had to configure them one at a time, right?
Right on.
So I'm primarily a Cisco wireless person. I do a lot of Cisco wireless. I do use some other vendors as well, but primarily Cisco. So a good old Cisco Aeronet back in 2000 and something, when they first came out with their very first wireless class, which was a long time ago.
Excellent. Well, I'm seeing some questions coming in here. I did have a couple of kind of pre-canned kind of questions that we can use to kind of help kick things off as well. But yeah, let me take a look at the question. Oh, and also I noticed Nick Turner was a late joiner as well. Unexpected additional addition from the Ekahau team. Nick, you got a mic there. You want to introduce yourself?
How relevant a question. I'm struggling with my microphone at the moment, but yes, I am here lurking in the background. I'm going to try and answer some of the questions on the Q&A.
Awesome.
Here.
Appreciate that. So yeah, Abhishek and Nick will be on to help on the Q&A side of things behind the scenes, help try and wrangle some of these questions and answer some of them as well, so that we can try to get through as many of these as we can. It looks like the top voted question so far from Stu is where can I get a copy of that cool poster? So I'm going to assume, since I don't see any posters in anybody else's, you're referring to this poster over here on mine. This one actually was a collaboration with Revolution Wi-Fi. Ekahau and Revolution Wi-Fi put this together. I don't know, what was it? Maybe 2 years ago or so that we did this one. And yeah, it's pretty handy little poster that covers a lot of great stuff around Wi-Fi design. It goes through 4 different kind of critical design aspects, and then has a bunch of Wi-Fi performance tips and tricks as well, and kind of goes through the whole RF design process. So yeah, definitely a handy little reference poster to have up in your office. I'm assuming we probably have an infographic or something like that of it where you could download it. I don't know if we have any of the posters laying around, unfortunately, but yeah, it's a good one. We should maybe update that. All right, so we've got that answered. I can answer those kind of questions all day long. So yeah, just keep those kind of questions coming. I'll take all those ones. So yeah, let's see here. We got one from Vincent that's got some comments on it, as well as some upvotes. around. I can see that smartphones hop. Sometimes I can see that smartphones hop frequently between 5 and 2.4 gigahertz. It seems that a hop between a channel on 2.4 and a channel on 5 is more time consuming than a hop on the same frequency band. To solve this issue, I create one SSID for the 2.4 gigahertz and one SSID for the 5 gigahertz instead of one SSID broadcasted on both frequency bands. Is this a good practice? Do you know another solution? What do you guys think? Anybody want to raise their hand to share their insights? Raymond?
I'll take this one. I'm a fan of dedicating SSIDs to specific bands. And as we always tell in classes as well, for example, we talk about the carrot and a stick method. I'm sure Samuel and Phil and people who've done the class know about it. You can do either a carrot and a stick, or so you can entice people to go to the 5 gigahertz, say create an SSID and call it Wi-Fi fast, and hope that people will connect to the Wi-Fi fast. It doesn't work as efficiently. It's better to recreate or redesign the SSID and make it 5 gig only, and then create a separate SSD 2.4 only and call it, for example, legacy SSID, and therefore force people that are doing 2.4 only to do 2.4 only, and the people that do 5 on 5. So yeah, separate SSIDs is a good practice.
And I have a slightly different take in that I see the comment from Gary Woodard there. This is more SSIDs create more channel utilization due to extra beacons, and I think that that's an interesting perspective. In that if you are going to go down the road of splitting your SSIDs, you shouldn't be adding any more extra beacons if you are adding an SSID dedicated to 2.1 and an SSID dedicated to 5. Whereas previously you had one SSID in both frequencies. If you take that away and you had one in each, essentially the channel utilization impact is the same. Having said that, I think that the more graceful way to deal with that is to design around the problem. I think obviously it all boils down to the client. And that if you can get a good understanding about why the client is driving the channel decision that it is, then use that to your advantage when you're designing. I think that in particular, Apple publishes for iOS devices, I believe it's a 9 dB preference. Don't quote me on that. It's in the design guide written down so I don't have to remember it, right? They say that if a client device hears an SSID or hears an AP or radio in another frequency that's 9 dB stronger than what it is now, then it will automatically prefer that. And so if as an organization you want to prefer people to land in 5 gigahertz, use that information in your Wi-Fi design and keep your 2.4 gigahertz cell sizes 9 dB lower, whatever that threshold is, lower than what your 5 gigahertz SSIDs are, in order to encourage the clients to naturally select that 5 gigahertz frequency of their own accord. I think that when you rely on manipulating users by saying, well, I'm going to create an SSID that's corporate and then an SSID that's corporate slow, invariably you're going to run into a situation where somebody didn't wait long enough and it didn't show up correctly because the correct one didn't show up fast enough because of you need 2 channels in place or something goofy along those lines. In that stupid people will always be able to overcome a good design, and they'll certainly always be able to overcome a bad design. I think that that as always, the answer is some flavor of it depends. But if you know why a client is making its decision, and that is an RF related decision, then design that out of your network.
So the benefit of going last is I can say, yeah, I agree with both of them.
Or you could say you disagree with both of them. It's up to you.
Well, I would summarize what Raymond said, and I agree. I think we need to step back and say, why are we still using 2.4 gigahertz? And in answer to Sam's question, because we have to. If you don't have to, don't do it. If you do have to, you've got to do it. But if you move away from 2.4 gigahertz, you don't get microwave interference. You don't get all the other problems with core channel interference. 5 gigahertz has got lots and lots of space. I'm a huge fan of using 5 gigahertz whenever we can. If you have to use 2.4 gigahertz, you have to use it. But I like the idea of using a single SSID per frequency. So you have one on 5 gigahertz, you have a different SSID. Then you do away with all the band select problems. You do away with all the clients roaming the 2.4 gigahertz, causing problems. And of course, the get out of jail free card is do it when you can, which sounds like a get out of jail free card, but if you can do it, do it. If you can't do it and you have to have them both, then you're stuck with it.
Yeah, just say it depends.
Yeah.
Depends, absolutely, yeah.
All right. Well, good question, good answers. Obviously, yeah, different, there's a lot of variables at play there, from the client side to the infrastructure side to the design side. But yes, I agree. At the end of the day, it depends on a lot of those factors, but yeah, all very good stuff. All right. So we're already up to over 30 questions in here, and we're about, I guess we are already about 20 minutes in. So let's try and pound through as many as we can. The next most upvoted question is the inevitable UC question. No idea what you mean by that. I don't know who is UC. You guys know a UC? Is it a person? Joking, of course. No. UC had put out an announcement recently without going into too much detail on there, so certainly anticipated that coming up. I do have a corporate, message that I can share with you on that side of it. But yeah, obviously don't want to distract too much from the webinar here with the experts that we have on here, and I know most of you guys are on here for the technology as am I. And yeah, I'll go with the messaging that I've been given here around and I do agree with what we've got in the statement here, but really love and appreciate UC and thankful for all of his contributions. We wish him all the best. And also, while he is now gone, there are naturally a ton of other good people here at Ekahau and working on some pretty awesome things behind the scenes. We have hired around 20 additional folks since January this year, so that should be an indication that there is a lot of investment and more to come. Like I said, that's the
end quote.
End quote. There you go. So yes, we'll leave that at that, and get back to the tech related questions here. Well, what happened to Joel and Clay is the next question. We'll use the similar UC quote there as well. And the next question is actually around WPA3, which we did already briefly mention at the beginning here. WPA3 issues related to both WPA3 personal and enterprise. Phil, since you are at a popular security-related event, is that a discussion going on there? Is that a popular topic? Have you learned anything, heard anything that you'd like to share?
So all of the talk at the moment from the paper that was put out seems to be based around WPA3 personal. There is another thing called EAP-PWD, which was an alternative to EAP, which can also be subject to attacks as well.
getting a call in the hotel room?
Hold on a second, sorry, let me get rid of this call.
They won't allow us to...
I'll step in for a second.
Go ahead.
As I understand it, the vulnerabilities are really related to the key exchange component in SAE. So it's not really WPA3 and all aspects of WPA3. It's really the aspects of WPA3 that rely on SAE. And as I understand it, that is the WPA3 personal, and that is also, I believe, EAP-PWD, simply because SAE is leveraged in both of those. SAE is not leveraged in the WPA3 enterprise communications, which is what Phil was saying before. As it turns out, certificates with .1x on a radio server is still king of the hill. Now that you're not don't have a ringing phone, Phil, did I do you justice?
That's exactly what I was about to say, Sam. And I would encourage you everyone just Google WPA3 Broken or WPA3 Dragon Blood. The gentleman who broke it has written an awesome WPA3 Problems for Muggles, which I've read twice, and it explains the situation, and then he references his actual article. He spoke yesterday at Black Hat, which is the precursor to DEF CON, and he talked about and announced, and I'm sure that information from that will start to come out over the next few days. But that's exactly what he said. Basically, the personal aspect and the EAP PWD, which uses a pre-shared key to speed up the EAP process as opposed to on a radio server. And it's all to do with the Dragonfly exchange on which SAE was based. There are weaknesses, and some of the weaknesses it talks about is because of backwards compatibility. There is a transition mode that the Wi-Fi Alliance come out with, because everyone's not going to go WPA3 on all the devices immediately. So they're recommending running WPA3 in transition mode, which means you're also using WPA2. And the article explains all the problems. One of the easiest problems you do is you say, well, I can't use WPA3. Let's use WPA2, which effectively knocks it down to WPA2, which means all the tools that we already know about will now work on it. And so they are the main issues that they have. And if you read the article, and hopefully the vendors and the Wi-Fi Alliance are going to bring out updates to this. One of the biggest concerns that I'm reading now is to fix it, we're going to possibly make it incompatible with the current WPA3. So that's what they're saying. WPA 3.1, we're calling it, for example. What they're saying is it's not backwards compatible with WPA3. They then go off on a conversation of elliptic curves that I actually probably shouldn't go into, and honestly I don't want to go into without thinking about it and having a whiteboard behind me. But what they're saying is there is a risk. I can't give a good answer to that, Sam. What they're saying is there's a risk that it may be backwards incompatible, and I can give you one little answer that just popped into my head. One of the biggest problems they say we have with WPA3 is lightweight clients don't have enough processing power to do what is needed to defend it. So if they make it more complex, then not necessarily the APs are probably going to be a software upgrade. That's not our issue. It's all the lightweight clients doing WPA3 is why they said it's going to be incompatible.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's by far and away my biggest concern is if something is not backwards compatible, but it's just software patching, great, right? But when we moved from TKIP to AES, there was some really, really big heavy lifting there that required hardware changes. Yeah. If WPA, whatever the next one is, isn't hardware compatible with all current implementations, that's a huge, huge black eye for the industry.
What is kind of the rollout of WPA3 support currently? Is there many devices out there that support WPA3?
So iOS, right, the new iOS update is rolling with it, and then there's a handful of infrastructure vendors that, obviously the top handful have it in some limited fashion or another, and some either production builds or not production builds. I think everybody is sort of ramping on getting exposure to it today.
Okay.
The problem now, of course, is WPA3. I can remember talking about WPA3, I believe, in WLPC 2 years ago, maybe. We started talking about it. Yep. And here we are 2 years later, and it's coming out. Well, now they're saying it's broken. Let's get a new one. So maybe we're going to be 2 years away from that. Because now the vendors have got to take it, they've got to code it, the clients have got to code it. So I don't think this is going to be fixed tomorrow.
No.
Nice. And Keith Keith commented in chat there. I guess it was just to the panelists, but he appreciates your accent that you bring to the webinar.
I put this accent on for the webinars, Jerry.
Excellent. So another question here around some stuff with 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, but it looks like more specifically David's asking around, seems like more of a design kind of question, and I guess kind of design and implementation from an AP standpoint. You know, when you're designing a network where you have areas like lobbies and conference rooms and things like that, where you have clients that are going to be coming and going and kind of, I don't know, I guess transient through that area and mobile, you know, how do you design for those areas in comparison to the rest of the networks where clients may be stationary, you know, just parked at a desk? Is that something that needs kind of extra consideration? You know, do you design those areas the same? Anything around, you know, how you, from layout to configuration and settings and features and things like that to help, you know, make that a better user experience, and even getting into like 2.4 versus 5 gigahertz, you know, for those factors. Any thoughts around that? Do you guys take extra consideration for those areas versus stationary areas?
Raise of hand, or
Raymond, why don't we start with you?
okay. Well, as some of you know, I do a lot of events, and I just had my first event where I didn't have to support 2.4. They even allowed us to rename the 2.4 SSID to say you should really buy a new phone. So that was a first, and I really liked it. But it was really simple because, yeah, we said, well, we can give you some guarantees on 5. We can give you absolutely no guarantees on 2.4. This was an event in the center of Amsterdam, which is hugely crowded in Wi-Fi as is already. And in the end, on 5, everything worked like a charm. And 2.4, yeah, we didn't even, monitor it. It was just, if you want it, it's there. Good luck with it.
Anybody else have any other additional thoughts on that?
I'll just jump in again and say, if you can design without 2.4, design without 2.4. Think about it for a second. No one likes driving on a congested freeway. So why are we planning to build a freeway with 3 lanes? Let's plan to build a freeway with 8 lanes. So, but again, the quote I always tell people is, Walmart isn't going to throw away all their barcode scanners in all the Walmart stores across America because Phil doesn't like 2.4 gigahertz. So, right. So, and you know, when you talk to a warehouse application operator, they just want barcode scanner beep. It works. It's a 10-year-old machine. We don't need to upgrade it. I don't think anyone even sells into the 11 AC barcode scanners. I have a client that we work with that uses iPods as their barcode scanners, and they fix an attachment onto the iPad for the barcode scanning, which means they probably are N and AC barcode scanners, but they do that because they like to develop their own applications. So if you can get rid of 2.4, hey, give it a try. You might like it.
What about more on the physical side of things of AP layout, you know, maybe antennas, things like that? Sam?
Yeah, so we did I think it's all about where your users are at and what you can provide them. And I think that there's an interesting use case to explore here, and that is that sometimes you need to give people terrible Wi-Fi. And my answer to that, my story behind that is we had a large public venue that was moving to electronic ticketing. And they would have a courtyard that was literally crowded with 20,000 or so people at one go. And it would just crush any Wi-Fi that was coming in. And so because it would crush not only cellular networks, but Wi-Fi networks, and they must have Wi-Fi up and operational at the point of ticketing or the point of entry. Obviously, you know, connectivity at the point of entry was easy, you know, patches pointed down or APs at the ticketing counter. But that wasn't really the problem. The problem was that we had, you know, 19,000 other devices that were out in the courtyard trying to connect to these APs. So the people who were trying to get in and get the tickets on their phones, they were overloading their APs. And so what we did was we actually came back to the side of the building, and we intentionally put 1 or 2 APs up on the side of the building with large, broad patches out into the courtyard, not with the intention of providing good coverage to those clients, but with the intention of providing enough enticing RF to those clients that were out in the courtyard that it would get them off of our ticketing APs as users were trying to come up to the gate. And yes, it was a terrible thing that we were intentionally giving people bad Wi-Fi, but without really peppering, the side of the building with 40 APs with highly directional patches just to cover a courtyard. It accomplished the goal of getting people off of the ticketing APs and onto something else where they were having a terrible experience until they got closer to the building when they actually needed their ticket to work and they needed to get in. And then what they found is as they came close, their device would roam to the local APs where you would only have 50 or 60 clients on that AP. Then boom, they could connect with their ticket and get in. And so it was about traffic pattern management. And sometimes the intention is to just get people off of the APs that are being crushed at that particular point in time. It comes back to design, and sometimes you can use this whole concept of bad Fi or bad Wi-Fi or terrible designs in order to encourage clients to get away from where you actually want them to be. It's sometimes a little counterintuitive.
Yeah, no, that's pretty insightful. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think you can do, or at least attempt to do some, I think that's a more, appropriate way or going to produce better results, but you could accomplish some of that via software, right? Some kind of RxSOP or something like that that's going to maybe, not listen or not respond to those clients that are further away, right? But the way that you're doing it actually gets them off that channel altogether, potentially, and puts them somewhere else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. A lot of different ways to fix that problem. Yeah. But conceptually, keep the people who you don't want on your Wi-Fi off your Wi-Fi, even if you have to encourage them to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Like, look at the shiny object over here. Don't worry about this one far off. I like it. Good stuff. All right, next question here: static channel / power or automatic? Ooh, this could turn into one of those heated kind of questions.
I have to go now.
They're better at automatic. Interesting. Okay. Well, we've got some Cisco people on the call,
I have to
so
go now because I want to avoid that one, Jerry. Right?
Let's try and keep it civil. Raymond, do you want to maybe start off? What's your thoughts on static versus automatic?
I've done both. I've seen RRM or ARM or whatever you want to call it work. I've seen it fail horribly and then do it automatically. So, this is a really it depends kind of situation. If it's a fixed environment somewhere out where you don't have any interference from others and stuff like that, if it's in big metal box, Faraday cage, then static would probably work. If you're in in another environment where interference is variable, then it's automatic would probably be the better way to go. But then really configure your ARM, RRM really well.
Very good. And I see Nick had a comment here about Nick Ellerman in the Q&A around Ubiquiti APs, and automatic means max transmit power. I believe Ruckus is the same. If you leave it set to automatic, it's always max transmit power. So yeah, different vendors implement that kind of auto power, auto channel very differently. So it's it's very much, I would say, an it depends kind of an answer. Sam or Phil, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, Nick hit the nail square on the head, which is read the blasted book. If you're fortunate enough to use a vendor who documents their RRM process, it's knowable. And if it's knowable, much like your client behavior problem when we're talking about 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz, if it's knowable, use that information in your design. Design is not just placing APs so that they work. Design is making sure that you place your APs so they work how you want them to. And if you want them to work using auto RF, go read your vendor's documentation about how that auto RF works. I would say that if you don't understand how auto RF works, then you cannot design a network so that auto RF works properly, not without a bunch of trial and error. And so you have to, Jeff, yes, probably that's probably the better way to say it, but it's a kid-friendly show. I would wager to bet that no vendor's RRM solution is going to be correct default out of the box, and that a vendor has to specify something because you have to put something. There is no one-size-fits-all answer, and so if you're the 1 in 46 quintillion possible RRM combinations that the out-of-the-box options work for you, fantastic. The reality is that the overwhelming majority of people need to go and adjust it, and really, in order to adjust, you need to understand what those knobs do.
But Sam, so it's automatic. It should just automatically adjust for any.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jerry, I really like this going last because I can say, yeah, what they said.
Perfect.
So this is my thought pattern on this, right? Is it always a better idea to do a static channel than to use any automation? Yes. What if you have 8,000 APs? If you have a static plan, you really need to revisit it multiple times a day to make sure it's working, because it's not going to change channels if it sees interference. Is it better to have a static plan? Yes. Are we going to do that? No. So any help that the system can give us by automating the process is going to make our lives easier. No one's going to hire 20 people to maintain a static plan. They're going to turn on automatic RRM or ARM. Now, the problem with ARM and RRM is most people turn it on and leave it alone. They don't look at the logs, they don't look at what changes have been made, and they don't fine-tune it to only operate within these parameters. So optimizing it, I think, is important. Yes, it's good, but treat it like a dangerous weapon. Don't just leave it run around doing whatever it wants.
Well, I would say treat it like spanning tree.
Absolutely.
Like go ask any network that's being operated today, any network engineer, or OSPF or EIGRP or whatever. Go ask any network engineer, hey, are you running that routing protocol? Are you running that layer 2 loop prevention protocol with defaults?
Yeah.
And they'll laugh at you. They'll absolutely laugh at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing that stands out to me that actually came up in my ECSE class I took, several years back. Devin was the teacher for that one, and I don't know if this was originally from him or he got it somewhere else, but was the whole concept of be the rock. When you're in an enterprise environment like that, and you for the most part own the building, or at least own kind of that space. You want to be the rock where if, other vendors are coming in, putting in their gear and things like that, you don't want to be constantly creating these ripple effects of every time somebody turns on a hotspot, your entire network has to now reconfigure itself and adapt to that. You want to be this kind of solid rock and let everything else kind of flow around you. So let them, change and use their, consumer automatic, potentially algorithms to go around your kind of big enterprise network.
Until it's your CEO with the next $1 billion application that you just totally busted. Of course.
There's always the it depends, but in most cases I think that's applicable, and at least what I've seen does tend to work better than other options. But yes, there's a lot of variables at play there.
If I can add just one thing to that, Jerry.
Yeah.
Is if a static plan works, use a static plan. If it doesn't, use automatic tools. It really is, and it depends. It depends on your environment. It depends on what you're trying to achieve. I don't think there's a right answer to this. I don't think there's a correct answer to this.
Yeah, I don't think there's one answer. Well, the other thing I would say on that, though, too, is do we have to do one or the other, in the sense of could we take more of a hybrid approach of maybe let the auto RF features do their job, freeze it, do a survey, see what the environment looks like, see what kind of a job it did, maybe manually tweak some things to optimize that, But now from there, maybe rely on more of a static plan, and then maybe every so often you're going to go through and kind of revisit that and redo that. But yeah, I don't think it has to be 100% one side or the other. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, true. I even have had an event where I said what's critical, and it was at the end of a runway for an airport, so we had a lot of DFS events. So for ticketing, we set where ticketing entrances were, we've set the APs to a fixed channel non-DFS and let the rest figure itself out using RM. So that's another option.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good point. So I see another, the next question here. I'm really surprised how many questions we're getting around 2.4, or at least have some mention of 2.4. The next one here from Nicholas, looking to disable 802.11b rates in my environment. I understand that the cell size of the 2.4 coverage will shrink when the client's perspective and roaming will be impacted let me do that again. Yes, it will shrink from the client's perspective and roaming will be impacted one way or another. Is there anything else I should consider or look out for when making this change? So there's a lot to unpack in that question there. Sam, what do you think about the, I guess kind of the first part of that? So looking to disable those B rates and then referring to the coverage will shrink from the client's perspective. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I would say the coverage could shrink from your client's perspective, depending on how your client is making its roaming decisions. And so, again, it comes back to the client and what it is you're trying to encourage that client to do, and why you're ultimately trying to disable those low data rates. If you are dealing with, let's say, for example, HSLB only devices, and you disable all HSLB data rates, it's intuitive that your HSLB device is simply going to stop working. If you have an HSLG device and you disable all HSLB data rates, that doesn't necessarily mean that your cell size is going to shrink, because those data rates can certainly be supported, those OFDM data rates can certainly be supported out at the same signal strength boundaries as you were supporting 1 megabit per second before. And so if you're talking about effective cell size shrinking, that's different from the RF impact to the frames being transmitted, which is also different from the channel utilization impact of using terrible modulation for 1 and 2 megabit per second data rates. Can I take a break?
Yes, appreciate it. Don't go dying on us now. Come on. All right, Phil, do you have any other thoughts around that? Of especially on the end point there of, is there anything else that Nicholas should consider or look out for when making that change in regards to disabling those B rates?
Well, we preach design in the cell edge at neg 65, neg 67. That's not 1 megabit. 1 megabit goes out to in the low 80s. So my response would be, you want to shrink your cell. You don't want to allow clients talking at 1 megabit. If you have 1 megabit turned on G, then the beacons are going to be transmitted at 1 megabit, which is going to increase your overall utilization because of all the beacons that are being transmitted. I've turned, in my personal network in the office network, I've turned off everything below 24 megabits. But it's still been impacted by my neighbors who haven't. And I power on my Meraki, and it says that my G network is operating at 3% utilization, and my my A network, 5 gigahertz, is at 3% utilization, and my 2.4 gig network is at 50% utilization. And that's on a Monday morning at 7 o'clock before anybody turns up. That's just beacons.
So you turned off the low data rates up to 24 megabits per second. That's your minimum basic rate, right? How do you determine that that's the optimal minimum basic rate to be using? Well,
I turned it on and nobody complained.
So trial and error.
Not the best strategy, but it was. I tried it first of all on my test network. I did some testing with some clients. Told the team I was doing it. Turned it on, and everybody's happy. But the main thing to point out is that the next door neighbors haven't done it. So we're still seeing beacons at 1 megabit. So you can fix your network But until we get the world to agree, it's not going to fix all our problems, right?
So would you say that you recommend everybody turn their MBR, their minimum basic rate, up to 24 megabits per second?
No, you've got to give me a purchase order for a recommendation, Jerry.
Well, I guess my point there is, that may be the optimal for your particular environment, right? If it's designed to be able to support that, and understand that. But that doesn't.
So what I would say is people should consider looking at turning off lower data rates. In a high density network, especially, it makes the cell sizes smaller. I actually want to reduce my cell size. I don't want clients connecting at 1 megabit. Oh, hold on a minute. What about all the B clients? Well, it's 2019. Why are we still having B clients? Because we have to have B clients. Okay, then leave 11 megabits turned on. Leave 5.5 turned on if you have to. So if you've got to support 11 megabits, some old clients won't operate if 1 megabit isn't turned on. Okay, then you can't turn them off.
Yeah.
There comes a time, if I can just say one more thing, there comes a time when you don't, to get the speed on the freeway, you don't mandate that every state has to deal with horse and carts. There comes a time when we're like, hey, it's not a good idea to drive a horse and cart on the freeway. Now, I'm sure people will start typing now, and this is the old argument that we always have. Do you turn off low speeds? Do you not turn off low speeds? How do you control the cell edge? Turn down the power, turn off lower speeds. If you can do that and get an improvement, you should do it. If you can't do that because of restrictions you have in your environment, then don't do it. So I'm afraid it's back to it depends.
Yeah, but it's all about optimizing your environment.
Exactly.
Does Sam get like a royalty check or something every time we say it depends on
I
you?
believe he should get some money every time we say that.
My follow-up to my coughing fit, I apologize for that, is that every network is different. I mean, we hate to say that all Wi-Fi networks are special little snowflakes, but what works for you isn't going to work for the guy down the road or a woman down the road, as the case may be. And that the configuration that you come up with based on policy, device types, application requirements, performance expectations, security requirements, all of those things are going to drive what it is you can do around things like disabling low data rates. And if you have a situation where you say, well, I must support it with the devices, there's tons of reasons why you may have to do that, not the least of which could be political, not the least of which could be easily mitigatable by going and spending $1,000 on a new client. My favorite situation was a college campus who must have 1 and 2 megabits per second data rates turned on, and they left them on because of game system compatibility. And what they neglected to follow up with on was, after several years, the Nintendo Wii, which was the device that didn't support 1 and 2 megabits per second, stopped being the popular console. And so they went and they bought a bunch of USB adapters and said, if you've got a Nintendo Wii, here's your solution. Oh, by the way, we're going to turn off 1 and 2 megabits per second now, or even 5.5 and 11. There wasn't really a logical follow-through to say, is there another solution to why we need to have these data rates turned on? Don't forget that sometimes the answer isn't a Wi-Fi configuration answer.
Very good. All right, so let's change gears here. I really appreciate David's question, getting us off the 2.4 conversations and getting into the current year, asking about designing wireless for a new facility to be Wi-Fi 6 compatible. Are there any design considerations for using frequencies above 5 gigahertz? So this is kind of a twofold question, right? Where we've got now this Wi-Fi 6 technology, but now we also have this, to make it even more complicated, this 6 gigahertz frequency space, that's on the horizon that, will likely be a part of that in the near future. Sam, I think I saw something on Twitter actually from you recently referring to the similar challenges that you faced when AC rolled out and designing AC and inquiries about that. Any comments around, what you've been seeing and hearing in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that much like when AC came out, the question was, how do you design for insulated AC? And the answer is you don't. You don't design for a protocol, you design for a use case. And it's really difficult to design for future use cases, especially when you start talking about frequencies above 5 gigahertz. We as an industry are putting an awful lot of eggs in that 6 gigahertz basket. And if I rewind the conversation 4 years ago, we were putting a lot of eggs in that mid 5 gigahertz spectrum opening up. And guess what? That fell through. Now here we are putting a lot of eggs in the 6 gigahertz basket, and we still don't know if the FCC, we have a lot of vendors going, yep, swear to God, it's going to happen. Absolutely not an issue at all. And we're building products, clients are going to come, very, very forward-looking statements. But the reality is it's not here yet, and because it's not here yet, I don't know that it's something that we can design to. But we're putting a lot of eggs in that basket, much like we put a lot of eggs in the WPA3 basket, and guess what? That's now falling apart. I'm the kind of person that says, show me, and when it works and when it's reliable and stable, we will talk about what the design considerations are for that. Because you're not going to have your real world Wi-Fi 6 deployments a year ago, right? It's just simply not going to happen. And those lessons that we learned from real world Wi-Fi deployments when the protocol was announced and there was absolutely nothing shipping, guess what? They've all changed. And so it's great, we can all assume that 6 gigahertz is going to be smaller cell sizes effectively than 5 gigahertz. But the practicalities of what that means, I don't think anybody knows yet.
Yeah, we don't really know what the use cases are, you're saying, as far as what's going to drive.
Well, we know what the use cases are. We just don't know what the technology is going to do to provide those use cases. Right? It could be something where we say,
some of the
okay,
use cases would be for Wi-Fi 6.
Oh, I mean, go ahead, Bill.
So I was going to say, you buy your kid a brand new iPhone for Christmas. They're really looking for, in February, they're really looking forward to next Christmas so they can get the new Samsung Note 10, right? It's like, dude, you just got a brand new iPhone. The industry seems to want the shiny new toy constantly. And one lesson that we should have learned with N, and we didn't, and we should have learned with AC, and we didn't, is if the protocol has any other words or letters around it, for example, 802.11 AC Turbo, 802.11 AC Plus, Draft, 802.11 AX, just replace them with the word not, because they're not 802.11 AX. And honestly, I feel like being the parent here and saying, all right, guys, all right, customers, we need to wait until next year, until WPA3 is all approved and passed, and AX is all approved and ratified, and 6 gigahertz is available. How many channels are we getting in 6 gigahertz? Well, we don't actually know yet. Yeah? It's not finalized yet. It may be 56, 58. It may not be. Anybody remember Uni 2A and Uni 2B and Uni 2C? That just suddenly died. And so the vendors aren't going to start building silicon for this until at least it's ratified maybe by the FCC. And we all want to rush to the new toy. And honestly, if you buy an AX access point today, it's going to be useful in the future. But the question you have to ask is, how many AX clients do you have? And I think, who was it that did some testing? Isn't it maybe 20, 30%? If you haven't got 20, 30% AX clients, you don't get the benefit of AX. So maybe I'm just old-fashioned and I'm just old and like to move more slowly, but I'm wondering, should we as the engineers get excited about the new technology? Yes. But should the customers? I'm holding out for AX. Rick Murphy announced, I think, a while back on his website, BE. BE is the new thing. Let's all wait for BE. And what's BE? That's the point, right? They just started to talk about BE, which is going to replace, and you heard it first on the Ekahau webinar. BE is going to replace AX. So why do we wait for that? Why do we use BE draft? And
what was it? The last webinar was the new Ekahau cookie announcement from Jim Palmer, and now we've got BE. These Ekahau webinars are really
awesome, right? Yeah.
You get all your great news here.
It's going to be extreme high throughput, right?
Super duper mega ultra, I think it's called. Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be nice.
But yeah, and I think we as techies get enthusiastic about new technologies. It's the marketing pushing it. I'm still calling it 802.11ax and not Wi-Fi 6. But yeah, then it makes more sense to me to call it AX than Wi-Fi 6. Not sure how you guys do it.
6 implies it's bigger and better, right? 6 is bigger than better than 5.
Yeah, I think we're in for some confusing times of naming and numbering and all that kind of stuff. I guess that's where we fit in to try and sort all that out for our customers and who we talk to. But yeah, it's even hard for us to keep up with. Well, I see it's already just about the top of the hour here. We really only scheduled this for 45 minutes, but I figured we'd be able to at least fill the hour. And apparently, we have now more questions. We now have 37 open questions here. So, yeah, we definitely are not going to be able to get through all these. So I'll apologize for that right away. But if you guys are okay with it, stick around. Maybe we answer let's say 3 more questions. Everybody on board for that?
Sure. Yeah,
or
I'm good.
Drop off, feel free to drop off. But yeah, really appreciate you guys coming on and helping out. This has been great. So Chris has a question here around secure authentication. How do you manage configuring secure authentication with customers that don't have a CA environment or a reasonable compatibility of deploying certs to clients currently? Really changing gears on us. Anybody feel comfortable answering that one? He stumped our panels.
So yeah, get them to install. So at WLPC we do hacking boot camps and hacking demonstrations. And if your boss doesn't want to buy a Radius server, let me know and I'll come and show him how easy it is to hack a pre-shared key. Because if you have a pre-shared key, every time someone leaves the company, you change the pre-shared key, right?
So maybe, Phil, just to back up a second, even from my own understanding, what does this entail when we talk about managing and configuring a secure authentication environment there? What does that mean in comparison to just deploying a PSK like most of our customers do?
So there are 3 ways to install a wireless network securely: with no authentication, with WPA2 Personal, with WPA2 Enterprise. The best way to do this is always to do WPA2 Enterprise. Now, if you're a coffee shop in San Francisco, you're not going to install a Radius server. At grandma's house, you're not going to install a Radius server. Yeah. So they do pre-shared key. If pre-shared key is good enough, then use it, but understand the limitations of pre-shared key. It is possible to break pre-shared key, given enough time and enough compute power. The safest way to install a network is to use, at a minimum, EAP-PEEP. I'm not saying everybody needs to go out and install EAP-TLS, EAP-PEEP, or EAP-FAST, or some variation thereof. It requires a Radius server on the back end, and then you have to install the Radius server client on the customer machines. Now, my answer to that question is install a certificate authority system. But of course, it's expensive, it costs money. There are vendors who do alternatives now. They do per user pre-shared keying, which is better. The problem with WPA2 Personal is if you break the pre-shared key, you own the network, period. Yeah, that's the problem.
Well, and I would say that you forgot probably the 4th option, which is captive web portal. No,
well, when I say open network, I'm assuming that's but the per user pre-shared key, I think is the term that Aruba uses. I think Aerohive uses. Identity PSK is I think what Cisco uses. It's the same answer, which is you as a user are issued a pre-shared key for your devices. And I think that if you apply that to a security policy properly, then no, I don't think once you compromise the key, you've got the network. I think if I issue Jerry a key for Jerry's devices, yes.
If I issue a key to Jerry for Jerry's devices, that doesn't mean that once I compromise Jerry's key and I get on Jerry's network segment, that I can now access Raymond's devices. Properly backed up with security segmentation, I think it mitigates a lot of those concerns. It doesn't resolve them, but I think it's enough of mitigation to have a conversation about which pain do you want to incur. Do you want to incur per user pre-shared key? Do you want to incur radius or certificate issues? Or do you just want to say, damn it all, we're going to leave it all wide open and deal with authentication encryption at layer 7? Lots of different ways to deal with that. And, but there you go.
Absolutely, Sam. So what Sam said, absolutely. I was assuming that no one would leave the network open, so I was implying a web portal. The other thing I will say is security needs to be ramped up in everybody's network. There is absolutely no point whatsoever installing a radius server in the office environment if the executive goes home to his home network or her home network and has a pre-shared key password of Cisco 123. Okay, it needs to be all-encompassing security. It really, the investment you put into having radius servers and PEEP at the corporate laptop, if they then go down Starbucks and don't use a VPN, it's like really missing the point. So security, for example, in the Cisco world, you can send them home with an OEAP device, which allows them to have connectivity from home with the radius functionality from the office. Does that make sense?
It says branch functionality. Basically, it's what everybody says. Security is like an onion. Layer it.
Yes. Yeah. And always use a VPN. There you go.
Yeah.
Like an ogre. Yeah. So security, like ogres, have layers and onions.
Ogres?
Yeah. No. If you're a Shrek fan, maybe you understand as well.
Okay.
I was with you.
Nick, did you have anything you wanted to share on the Ekahau side of things? I know you've been working on something with feedback and feature requests.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Just quite a few of the questions that came up in the Q&A panel, all of which were fantastic. Thank you very much for submitting those. But some of those were quite close to the feature request end of the spectrum, and just wanted to share with you guys that if you hadn't heard about this, we are trialing, experimenting with a feedback platform called User Voice. So if you have a feature request or you want to log your interest in feature requests made by other Ekahau customers, then please try ekahau.uservoice.com. In order to get an account, you have to just fill out a very brief form, which you'll be invited to fill out if you go to ekahau.uservoice.com. And the hope is that on this, we can just take things a little bit further than hashtag ESS request on Twitter. So thank you very much for your feature requests and questions on the Q&A. And some of you I have directed to that page already.
Check it out. Yeah, I really appreciate all the work that Nick has done on there. If you haven't signed up for that yet, go ahead and do so, and you can take a look at a lot of the feature requests that are on there already, and add your own or upvote the ones that are there. And I'd love to get your feedback and collect that there and your comments.
Yeah, the upvoting thing, that's a very good point. If you go onto User Voice and you start typing out a feature request, but you discover somebody else has already created that, then that's good. That's a good thing. Add your vote and comments to that feature request, please. Don't go, oh, somebody's already thought of this, I'll leave it here.
There was one question here by Dan that I think would be definitely one that we need to answer, and I'd love to get each of your kind of take on there around Wi-Fi tools. Dan asked, what wireless troubleshooting tools, software, hardware are you seeing most folks use as an entire solution? yeah, I'm kind of curious what you guys are using, what you're seeing, maybe being used in the industry. Have you seen any kind of trends change of maybe tools that you used in the past that you're no longer, maybe finding as useful as they once were, or maybe even a lack of tools? What do you guys think when it comes to Wi-Fi tools? What tools do you guys carry the most frequently in your tool belts when you go on site? Raymond, you want to start us off?
No one, yeah. Well, I was waiting for the other guys to go first, and they were so yeah. What I bring again, depending on the question you get for troubleshooting, but I usually take too much because you don't want to go back to the office in case you missed something. So I'll always go on site with an AirCheck G2, with my full Ekahau stuff, with ComView for Wi-Fi, with 6 adapters, yeah, and a directional antenna for spectrum analysis and troubleshooting, and location or device finding, all that. Yeah.
Sam, what do you think?
I'd say that the number one most valuable tool I have is this thing right here, which is, as Keith so eloquently put in the ECSE troubleshooting course last week, you're going to troubleshoot with the tool that you have at your disposal. And so the most important tool is the one that's in your hand. The question is can you use it effectively to troubleshoot whatever thing that it is that you're trying to deal with? There's a lot of different ways to troubleshooting: NMS platform, spectrum analyzer, site survey tools, packet captures. There's all sorts of different ways to gather information about your problem. But I think being able to understand not only just how to use whatever tool is in your hand, but understand what its limitations are. But me personally, right, I would echo much of what Raymond says, right? You start off with your Ekahau Pro with your Sidekick and your packet captures and your channel scanners and NMS platform access, ideally. And then I try and paint a picture using all of those tools at one go. And so I don't necessarily know that if you took any one tool away from me, I wouldn't be able to troubleshoot a problem. I would just have to troubleshoot it differently. I think in my book, it comes down to a matter of efficiency. If you are most comfortable using one tool, if we were all Peter McKenzie, we would all just live in packets all day long, and we'd probably arrive at the same answer as anybody else looking at the problem from a different perspective. But he knows how to use his tools. He also knows what their limitations are. It's tools you know how to use.
Phil, do you agree? Do you have a different answer?
Again, I agree with everything previously said. So I was asked the same question last week on the troubleshooting class by Keith, and I actually said a cup of coffee. Everybody stopped and looked at me with a kind of blank look on their face. And what I meant was, yeah, and I'm like, sit down with a cup of coffee, and Raymond said this, it depends. Let's investigate what the problem is. I would take my trusty Sidekick, Ekahau. I take a protocol analyzer, Wireshark, Savius OmniPeak. I love Savius OmniPeak because the statistical information it shows you. I love Wireshark because you can get very quickly run through its nice simple interface. But first of all, you want to sit down with the customer and say, right, what's the problem? Susie can't print. I shouldn't run down there with my Sidekick and start, capturing traffic. Okay. I should find out, right, can anybody else print? Can Susie print or anything else? Oh, the toner's out. Nobody in the accounts department can connect to the Wi-Fi network. Now I might run down with my Sidekick and see what sort of coverage they got. And I think that Sam hit the nail on the head. You've got to use this to find out what the problem is, then try and use the most appropriate tool. And again, whatever tool you have with you. But there is the more important question you may want to ask, Jerry, is if you had to go to a desert island and you're only allowed to take one tool, what tool would that be? And of course, it'd be my Sidekick.
So you guys heard it here first. Phil takes a coffee cup everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
That is a troubleshooting tool of choice.
The beauty of the Sidekick is it can do everything all the others can, And as I said, it's not just because it's an Ekahau webinar. I would take my Sidekick because it can do packet capture.
Yeah.
It can test what's going on. Whereas if I was to take one of the other tools, I'd be stuck after a certain point. So I take my Sidekick.
You give a man a Les Paul, he doesn't become Eric Clapton. I think that buying the tool is step number one. Making sure that you invest in the training for that tool is step number two. I would say if you say, oh my gosh, they said go buy Ekahau Pro with a Sidekick, you shouldn't just go buy Ekahau Pro with a Sidekick. You should go buy Ekahau Pro with a Sidekick plus the ECSE troubleshooting course or the ECSE design course. You should sit in a formal environment and understand how those tools are supposed to be used. Don't just say, oh, hey, look, I got this shiny new thing. Cool. I'm going to take it everywhere I go. It's not going to do you much good.
I think you said this last week, actually, Sam, where if a person only knows how to use a hammer and you give them a screwdriver, they're going to start hitting things with the screwdriver, right? Because that's all they know.
But yeah, close enough. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys sticking around. We're already about 15 minutes over here, so I'm actually going to throw a question out to the audience, and this is really the first time that we've attempted this style, so I appreciate you guys kind of bearing with us as we're kind of figuring it out as we're, going through this kind of format. I did see some comments in there about, some people that would have liked to seen more Ekahau, like product-specific questions being addressed. So yeah, I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you guys like this style and format? Would you like to see, maybe some more focus around certain questions where we do this, but do it specifically around Ekahau product, or maybe even a specific product or something like that? Or yeah, do you guys like this just more open format and just talking about technology and Wi-Fi and things like that? I mean, we kept this one pretty open and just kind of wanted to see what topics you guys wanted to talk about, and obviously it went pretty technical, which is why I'm glad we had our experts on here, our ECSE instructors on here to help me answer some of these more technical questions. But I'm happy to obviously talk all day about our products and features and things like that as well. So yeah, I'll keep an eye on the comments there. While those comments are coming in, let's answer one more question. I'm kind of cherry picking this one since we have some ECSE instructors on here. Max asked a question around, with the new ECSE trainings, what are the tiers and prerequisites for each certification? I think I know the answer to this one, but yeah, Raymond, Sam, you guys know the answer to that one?
I think we all do.
Raymond, why don't you take that one then?
Yeah, I did the first ECSE troubleshooting in Seattle, so that's 2 weeks before Sam and Phil did it in Reston, I think. So it was really fun. And what we did is, what we found out is, basically there are 3 trainings: ECSE troubleshooting, which is a different focus than ECSE design. But probably same level, but for different people, different functions. So they have not a really hard prerequisite, but CWNA is advised, but it's not demanded. And for the ECSE Advanced, the prerequisite is that you do have the ECSE design training.
Good. Yeah, and I just took the ECSE troubleshooting, as I mentioned. Really enjoyed the class. I really enjoyed the kind of framework that's taught through the class. It follows very closely. If you've taken the traditional kind of ECSE class that's been out there for many years, it follows that kind of concept and kind of construct very closely, and how the information is taught. And it's the whole teach a man to fish, and eat for a day, teach a man how to fish. It's that kind of concept where you actually are being taught how to actually do troubleshooting, and the whole concepts and kind of framework behind that, and not just if you have this issue you do these steps, which can be useful for troubleshooting that one issue, but doesn't really teach you the concept. So yeah, I really appreciate that. So yeah, some really great new offerings on the ECSE side. If you haven't taken any of the ECSE classes in the past, I would encourage you to check those out. If you have taken the original ECSE, definitely check out some of the kind of enhancements that have been made to that, where we've broken things out now to design, advanced, and troubleshooting options. and all the classes are listed. That's a good question too that I'm not too certain on, as far as, now that we have 3 different classes, do all the ECSE instructors teach all 3 classes, or is there certain people teaching certain classes? Raymond, how about you? Are you just doing like ECSE designs, or are you doing any of the other classes as well?
I'm doing ECG design and ECG troubleshooting.
Okay.
I don't do the ECG advanced one.
Gotcha. What about you, Sam? Are you doing all 3, or just design?
Yeah, right now it's design and possibly troubleshooting here in a little bit. And I think that there are 3 or 4 people that can do troubleshooting.
Okay.
If memory serves.
So yeah, you'll see more and more of those classes obviously popping up as more instructors are up to speed on delivering those classes. Yeah, those are popping up here on the training page. I just put a link to that in chat if anybody's interested in checking those out. Phil, how about you? You got any classes coming up here? What are you teaching these days?
So I do the design, and I'm working towards the troubleshooting. The 3 classes, there's design, troubleshooting, and there's the advanced design. I'd love to sit on the advanced design, but that's very specialist, and you've got to invest a lot of time with the class, making sure you're ready for it. So that I haven't got time to do this year. But that's going to be a very interesting class.
Yeah. Andy had a question on there of do we provide any of these online? We do have some online trainings here through Ekahau, not the same structure and format as the ECSE classes. The way that class is designed and structured, and the hands-on labs and things like that you're doing in the classes isn't something that we're considering at this point bringing online. We do have some things like more of the renewal side. So like if you took the original ECSE, there is a renewal kind of option where you can get up to speed with all the new content that's been added in the new ECSE design course that was broken out from that. So you can get all that new information and kind of get up to speed online. But yeah, the classes themselves are only offered in person at this time. Well, awesome stuff. I don't want to take up any more of our special guest time here, so I really appreciate you guys all coming on, and Sam making it through with with barely having a voice and everything, and powering through it for us, and yeah, still being willing to do that, and yeah, all of you guys taking time. I know Raymond, you're probably looking to get back over to the beach, and Phil back to the event. So all of you guys have busy schedules. And I appreciate you guys carving out some time to jump on and do this with me. Yeah, just to kick off this kind of new style format, looking through the comments there, it looks like it was well received. And, we'll take those comments into consideration and see if we can improve this and maybe set up a part 2, or maybe figure out some ways to structure this that is going to be the most valuable for everybody.
Perfect. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll go ahead and wrap this up and call it a day. Let you guys get back with the rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.